All right, so we are joined by Madison Central legend, CJ McLain, the first ever Madison Central player to play Division I football, former Arkansas Razorback, former Arena Football League star. We thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a room full here with us at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central High School, our alma mater, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for taking some time for us today to talk about your incredible career.
Thank you for having me. It is an honor, to say the least.
All right. So before we get into all the stuff you've done, I think it's important. Let's go back. 1995 graduate at Madison Central, one of the on the first ever football team at Madison Central that a lot of people don't remember. Not trying to date ourselves too much, but I remember this as well. These kids at Madison Central, or the ones that have played at Madison Central, see their nice, beautiful field. You played on the old pasture field on Highway 51,
Yes.
behind the old Madison Station Elementary. So just take us through your high school experience, how that was, and then we'll talk about going to the University of Arkansas with Coach Denny Ford and Coach Houston Nutt.
Well, it's historic. I know that field is old, that's the word, but historic is a better term because it was actually on the same campus of Madison Ridgeland High School, which was the predecessor of Madison Central. So that's why we played
Yep.
there. That was our old high school. And I never went to Madison Ridgeland. My mom and most of my aunts and uncles attended Madison Ridgeland. So, I have been a part of a long family history in Madison County.
That's awesome. Now you guys, Madison Central was a new school, but you were still had the unbelievable fortune to go to University of Arkansas. Played in the SEC championship game as a freshman. Played in the CarQuest Bowl. You played against Peyton Manning. You played against Tom Brady in the Citrus Bowl. So we have several athletes in here, several athletes that'll see this, and they see the results on TV that you played on ESPN, CBS, you name it. But talk about what it took to get there because everybody wants the results. Not a lot of people know what goes on behind the scenes, especially for a student athlete in the SEC.
All honor to God, first and foremost. The opportunity, the physical talents that I possess is how I was able to gain scholarship to University of Arkansas. I was offered from Florida State, and just about every other SEC school offered me a scholarship to play football. But it's a quick story. The reason why I got on those watch lists was because I went to camp at Florida State. Bobby Bowden saw me at camp running around, and before I left the camp, they offered me a scholarship that
Wow.
day. And they asked me to go ahead and sign early, and I just wasn't prepared to do that. And so I waited it out, and the best opportunity for me after taking numerous visits was the University of Arkansas because I was aspiring to be an engineer, and they had one of the nation's top engineering programs.
Yeah, and I think that's important too because we're all about giving kids options. So many kids fall into the trap, even if they're not an athlete, of
Mhm.
going someplace because their parents want them to, because their friends go there, and they wind up wasting time, wasting money. And you see it
Correct.
now, even with NCAA athletes, with the transfer portal, they get there, they're not
Correct.
happy, and a lot of times I'm like, now sometimes it's warranted with coaches leaving, but a lot of times I'm like,
Yeah.
if they didn't do their research instead of just going because something looked cool, I think a lot of that could be avoided.
You've got to go somewhere where you can feel at home. First of all, not just because of the athletic program, not at all. I would say the athletic program can't be top your number one reason. You got to find a deeper purpose, a deeper reason for attending that university, whether it be geographic, like in my case, whether it was your engineering program as pursuit of a career. Because first of all, understand the statistics show that 96% of high school students will not play in the pros. They're going to go professional at something else. So parents, you need to be able to help them prepare as early as possible for their next career, assuming that they will not play in a professional sports, which most of our kids, as hard as it is to accept when you're, especially, let's say you're an all-star in high school, still only 4% of those guys are going to go and play in the pros. You'll get a chance to go play in college, different levels, but then it slims down from hundreds of thousands of positions in college to about 1,500. So it doesn't mean that you're not really good. It's just the numbers just don't support you pursuing professional athletics from high school. You have to pursue a real profession, pursue a field, a career field.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because of other guests we've had Sean Woodson, who I'm sure you're familiar with, who played at Jackson State, played in the Canadian Football League, and now he makes more money as the captain of the fire department in Ridgeland than he made playing football. And another guest we've had is the daughter of Sammy Winder, who is a Ridgeland High
Oh,
alum, and she said her dad
yep.
makes more money running a trucking company than he ever made in the NFL. So for every Tom Brady, there's 1,000 regular Joes that are even on the roster. They're making decent money, but it's not, there's not balling out like Patrick Mahomes.
No, sir. And then a lot has to still happen. I mean, you got to overcome injury. Then you got to have first the space, the room on the roster. So it does not. Don't take that as a slight on any kid's potential. But it's just
Yeah,
a lot has to happen in order to go from high school to end up in the professional NFL
yeah.
locker room.
Yeah. Now, talk about being a student athlete because you mentioned how you wanted to be an engineer at the University of Arkansas. And I tell this story all the time, and people think I'm kidding. When I was at Southern Miss played UAB on ESPN on a Thursday night on the road. The next morning at 9 a.m., I'm walking across campus and I passed Marvin Young, who had played the night before. And I was like, Lord have mercy, what time did y'all get back? And he said, oh, about 2:30. But coach said, we got to go to class today.
Mhm.
You see
Yeah,
a lot of high school kids, they're like, man, I'm tired. I can't go to school tomorrow. In college, you don't have that option. And just
you
talk
sure
about the
don't.
schedule that a student athlete faces, not even just on the Division I level, but even on Division II and JUCO levels.
Yes, there is a tremendous, and I want to without. I want to let me. I'm using this term to I think fully equip parents and student athletes. There's a tremendous amount of trauma involved in college athletics. You're going to
Absolutely.
come from where you are at home, where everything is comfortable, to the only ones that are going to survive on a college campus are the ones that can handle uncomfort, discomfort. It's going to be really tough. You're going to be up at 5 a.m. As a freshman, you do a workout, usually about 5 a.m. is your freshman workout. 5 a.m. is when the workout starts, maybe 5:15. And then your first class, because freshman classes, a majority of those classes are early in the day. It's going to be about 7:45 or 8 a.m. So you'll get back from practice somewhere around 6:30. You got to get dressed and shower. A lot of times we don't shower before we go to that class. And then you'll go to class all day till about 12, have time for lunch. Then you have meetings at 2 o'clock. You'll go to practice from 2 to just after 4. And then you'll have dinner. And then you'll leave from dinner and you've got study hall from about 7 to 8. So it's a completely field day. And if you're not prepared to handle that discomfort, like you said, your buddies got off the plane. It doesn't matter if you go out of town the day before, the class is still scheduled. And so to just miss the class because you're tired, it's going to set you back. And so the coach will never advise you to do that. They're going to tell you, hey, if we're here in town, you need to go to class. We're expecting you to be there. They may send people to wake you up to make sure that you are there.
Yeah, that'd be the same for any sport: baseball, basketball, soccer. Because obviously these schools we have kids that play multiple sports, and they have opportunities to play the college level. And another friend of ours, Chandra Price from Madison Central, she went to play tennis at Southern Miss, and her schedule was a
Yeah.
whirlwind. So even in the non-TV sports, if you're playing soccer, golf, cross country, track, any of that, the demands of a student athlete on the college level, whether it's JUCO, NAI, D3, D2, especially D1, I cannot be stressed enough the amount of time management and the amount of organization you will have to have in order to be successful with a well balanced college experience.
Sure enough, and I dare say it's tougher on the non-TV playing sports because TV provides this bank, so they can fly you. They can. There's a lot of stuff that TV contracts allow you. So if you're playing a sport that's not a lot of television, it's going to be harder. You're going to be on buses a lot. Your schedule won't be as easily changed because when it comes to television, they can't change the television schedule. Very little they can do to it. So you can really rest assured that's when it's going to happen. But if it's not a television, not being played on television, they can change it up and switch it up, and you just got to be ready.
Absolutely. Now, you played 4 years at Arkansas, played in two bowl games, played in an SEC championship, and you played for a few years in the Arena League. Played for the Dallas Desperados, Philadelphia Soul. Uh, you played for you played in
Georgia
Oklahoma City,
Force, Nashville Cats, yeah,
Georgia Force, Orlando Predators, Nashville Cats with your
yep,
college teammate Clint Sterner. So,
yeah.
um, uh, talk about how that was because we have obviously kids that want to be professional athletes. Even if it is we've had kids from Velma Jackson go play basketball in Europe. So even then,
Sure,
even if it's not a major American league, there's a demand for professional athletes again that I think people really don't understand. So talk about playing in
sure
the
enough.
arena league. It's a nonstop whirlwind every day.
Yes. Now I had the honor of playing in the Arena League from 2000 to about 2008 in total. But 2000 to 2005 was under television contract with CBS. So
It's
that was
awesome.
quite different than what it is now because we played every Sunday. It was like Sunday night football in the spring. And so we got to do a lot of flights. We had a lot of really nice hospitality when we arrived. Salaries were comfortable to say the least. It was not millions of dollars, but we made good money. And you're doing that for about 6 months of the year. But the main thing that you really need to know is that you got to pour your heart into it. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter what league it is. If you're waiting for that league to show up before you show up, you're just never going to make it. You have to live the life that you're hoping to attain. And same with sports when it comes to being high school or college or professional. You can't wait to arrive before you start really putting in the effort. So that's one thing that I would say I did a fairly good job at is giving everything I had to that arena league. Whether it be fans interaction, signing autographs, or making relationships in the community, and also performing on the field. There are a lot of things that you're going to be asked to do, and I really enjoyed it, and I considered it an honor to be involved in such a tremendous game.
Absolutely, and I know the original Arena League on TV was a little bit before their time, but it was a lot of fun to watch. It was, and they made some great
Yes,
video games as well. Now, obviously, once your football career ended, you've had your hands in several different things, some nonprofit sales. You've done some radio and television work. So, just talk about how that experience shapes you and gave you these skills to have such a great platform now and and being a full-time salesperson because sales is a great career for people to get into that have a sports background.
sure enough. Because first of all, so when people say, "Man, I could never work for commission sales," right? I mean, if you don't make a sale, you don't make a dollar. Well, there's a tremendous amount of pressure there, and so I I strive to overcome challenges, and so that's something that I found myself comfortable with. I was never uncomfortable with the pressure of making commission sales. I saw it as a challenge that I could do well. I did well in car sales. I was introduced in 2018 to RV sales, and I think I found more of a home for my talent when it comes to working with families. And so, I always recommend that you search out what your niche is. Like I said, as professional, you're going to do you're gonna most players will end up professional at something else than that sport that they're playing. So continue to search out the things that you're good at. I realized at an early age, early on in my career, that I enjoyed people. I enjoyed meeting people. That was one of my biggest attributes. And so when it came to sales, I was right at home because that's what I did. I need to make myself comfortable and make other people comfortable, sharing with me their needs, sharing with me the best way to help sell them or sell the best product for them.
Yeah, and that's something that if you are even if you're not an athlete in school, there's great programs that can great business programs in Mississippi and other places where every company needs salespeople. So let's say
Yeah.
tomorrow you got sick of selling RVs, you have sales skills you can transfer into any field.
You can get on an airplane. This is what my GM tells us all the time. He's not trying to get rid of us, but it's a real story. You can get on an airplane and you don't even have to know where it's headed. And when you land, you can sail. And that's true. It no matter where I go, I can get off that plane and find the nearest dealership and I'm gonna make a living. I can tell you that. I will make a comfortable living for myself and my family and anywhere that they're selling stuff.
That's awesome. Now I do have some questions from the students, but before we get to that, let's talk about some of the things in the community you've done lately because you're obviously still a somewhat well-known name in the Madison County area, and you've done a lot. And you had your hands in a lot of things. So talk about some of the projects you've done and how you've positively used your platform. Because one of the biggest complaints I see with young people is they have so much leadership ability, so many things they could do, and they just waste it. Because when you have a platform, using it for good helps so many people. And I know you've done a lot of things recently. So tell us a little bit about that, because to me, a lot of people are like, once you get out of the spotlight and you're not on TV all the time, it's hard stepping away. And I'm sure it is, but you made the most of it and have done incredible work.
Well, I certainly thank you, Greg. It is, I would say, a part of my purpose, and that's where, like I said originally, giving all honor to God, you have to seek a greater purpose in life than sports, and then making money can't be your only purpose in life. So, what I was able to do is take that platform. I feel obligated that since I came from Madison, Mississippi, and went on to University of Arkansas, numerous other stops professionally and still have a respectable name. And so that's something that I try to use to my advantage, but not only to my advantage, to the advantage of the community that created me. Mississippi made. And so I'm shining a light on the people of Mississippi, some of the greatest men and women and children on the planet. And that's you, students, and we're talking to. A lot of
Yep.
people there, so the news won't tell you that. If you watch CNN all the time, they won't tell you how awesome Mississippians are because they're going to tell you about statistics for obesity or lack of education. Yeah, sure, those things still exist. We're not debating that we have some tremendous challenges that we will overcome as a state. But you got to look through the history. Don't let people tell you about current stats without telling you about the overall history, and the overall history of the people of Mississippi is of greatness. And still to this day, we've got 9 Hall of Famers in Mississippi, which is per capita makes us number one in the entire United States of America when it comes to NFL producing Hall of Famers. We'll go on a step further with just college players themselves. Mississippi is top 5 with college and NFL producing players in every sport, not just
Yep.
NFL, with college and professional sports. We're top 5 nationwide, and so you have to dig. And I didn't mind doing the work. You have to dig to find this information because it's not what it doesn't sell. And that's what news does is it sells. So they're not going to tell you about how awesome Mississippians are, but we are awesome men and women, and it's our destiny to strive for greatness.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, and we'll have some people here, maybe they don't play sports, and that's fine because, everybody's not an athlete, but those same opportunities are going to be there. And it's important, we have some great musicians in here. We have some incredibly talented digital video people in here. So there's opportunities not only for scholarships, but great careers in that. And that gives you ability to use platforms. And honestly, I think you talked about the competitive nature of sports on a college campus. It's the same way with music. If you're wanting to go be a part of
Yes.
a music program at a college, like you said, you can't just show up and then I forget the way you use it. You can't get there and then try to show up. You have to hit the
Yeah.
ground running immediately. So it's
Yeah.
these academic programs at these colleges are also extremely competitive.
Sure enough. And they're not giving that. When I went to college, you once you got the letter, once you were there, you kind of were assured that 4 years. So it's far more competitive now. Just talking about sports scholarships. But if I'm correct, then there's no difference no matter what level scholarship you're talking about. You've got to earn it again. You're gonna have to meet certain requirements yearly to get your scholarship again. So, when you leave home, kids need to understand it's not a cakewalk. I tell my nephews, well, I have 2 nephews who've gone on to play in college football recently, and man, this is like training camp, is what college is. You have to go there to that campus, get everything you can, and get out of there. That's the real purpose. You can't get up there and get comfortable and start partying, we're sleeping in. You're gonna fail. There's just no other way around it. If you don't wake up every day with the intent of gaining as much as you can from that college campus, you're most likely gonna fail.
Absolutely. Well, I got some great questions. I'll get to as many of these as I can.
Okay,
And I
great.
love this first one. This is Cornell Bacon. He's a senior member of our football team and bowling team and track team. Plays a lot of sports here. But he
Go
asked, "What
Jags.
was your main motivation to play football?" because people have different reasons on why they play a sport. So is the reason you played football, has that ever crossed your mind?
Yes. So I was actually an all-star basketball player all the way up until my junior year. I was one of the better known. Most of my uncles had played at Madison Ridgeland, and one or two of them and went on to college to play basketball. And I just wanted to be a basketball player. I wanted to be Scottie Pippen, Grant Hill. And my head coach, Mike Justice, called me up after a basketball game. And he said, son, you mean as hell and you jump like a deer. You need to play linebacker. And that spring, I went out and played linebacker. First practice, I think I ripped somebody's helmet off, and it was a perfect fit. Now, I did have to learn a lot about keeping my emotions in between the lines and in within the rules and regulations. But it was something about passion that was perfect for me. And I would say to answer that question, I was coachable is the main thing. And if my coach had a suggestion for me, I was going to give it my all. And that's one thing I see a lot of players, parents, you come into it with their own expectations, their own understanding of who my kid's going to be, what kind of talents he has. But you got to drop that and trust that. And in the Mississippi Coaches Alliance, we teach parents that are coaches are the are the gift. That's who you need. You listen to a coach, let him guide you, and give him your all, and you're going to succeed a lot more than you fail if that's the
Yeah, and
plan.
as somebody who also played for Coach Mike Justice, we had the same high school coach. Obviously I didn't have your talent, but a lot of the things that it was because I listened to what he said about how to overcome obstacles because everybody doesn't have SEC talent. He always said, life don't come with a menu, but a lot of the things that these adults and teachers are trying to tell young people, it is amazing how much of it that people that have actually lived life can give you advice.
Yeah,
And I think the more people listen to people that have gone before them, the more successful they can be.
sure enough.
I love this question. This is RJ Jones. He's a junior here. And he asked, with all the accomplishments and things that you've conquered and overcome, have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what makes me different than other people?
Sure enough, when I would say it goes back to passion, I've always wanted, and I just being, Black History Month, Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday was not just a few weeks ago, and so my birthday is January 20th, and he and I have always shared a birthday weekend. So I've had this connection to being a leader, to being a game changer, to being a world changer. I've always felt like that's who I was intended to be. So that same energy, that same passion I took into sports, from day one. And so I think that's what set me apart is that I didn't mind the pressure because I always felt like I was destined to be great. And then I realized that when it comes to statistics, that greatness makes you a few and far between. The line for straight and narrow is few and far between. So then you understand like a lot of people they want to be great, but then they turn around they're doing things like everyone else. Well, that doesn't add up. So if you say that you're absolutely guaranteed destined to strive for greatness, the first thing you have to do is start finding these small areas to get into these things that not a lot of people are doing. Not a lot of people are willing to go this far. That's what really sets you apart.
Absolutely. Now, I love this question. This is Gavin Griffin. He's a senior, our starting running back here at Velma Jackson, just signed to play football at East Mississippi Community College. Also an excellent student, but he's got a question about that. And he is, can you share your personal experience on playing football in the SEC and how hard it is to maintain schoolwork while being an athlete?
Sure enough, the first thing I want to do is shout out to Coach Bernard Ewell, head coach out there at Velma Jackson, a dear friend of mine. And he and I started our coaching career. I learned a lot from Coach Ewell when we were here together at Madison Central. But yes, the SEC, man, it's the greatest football conference in the world, and that's not just I'm not doing that saying that because I'm biased. It's because every Saturday, whether you're traveling over to Oxford or or God forbid you show up in Nashville and you didn't get your rest, or you didn't read your game plan, those Commodores jump on you, man. And so it doesn't matter who or where you're at. In the SEC, you have to be prepared every week going in. And that's what really sets this conference apart from any other. I would, pack those other conferences without naming any. There are some soft spots, and that's just not. I don't think there's a huge debate about that. There's some soft spots in most
Yeah.
other conferences, and our soft spots are, don't break my heart, but I'm going to say it. Our Arkansas Razorbacks and Ole Miss Rebels and Mississippi State and maybe Vanderbilt Commodores, South Carolina. Those are soft spots. Well, hey, when you go to any one of those teams, if you're not ready, you might face a really big whooping.
Yeah, and not to bring back, a great example of your college career, that is y'all had the crazy game against Tennessee your junior year, I
Senior
believe,
year, sure enough,
senior
yeah,
year, and one of the greatest games in SEC history. Y'all had a letdown and got upset by Mississippi State the very next week, and that Mississippi State team was not very good. And that's a
no,
perfect example of what you're talking about. You got to be prepared, and y'all still end up having a great season, but that's a perfect example. When things in life, that don't happen the way you want to, if you're not prepared for the next thing, it only gets worse.
yes, sir. And that just we'll speak on that quickly, man, because that season has been turned into two different movies. One is a movie Greater, about my teammate Brandon Burlsworth, who died in a tragic car accident just shortly after ending our senior year, and then another movie called Resilient, which details the effect that team had on the state of Arkansas, bringing it back, Razorback pride. So if you get a chance to check out those two films, but that game itself was heartbreaking because we were undefeated and Tennessee was undefeated, 8-0 and 8-0 going into a Thursday night matchup. The winner of that game was essentially destined to be national champs, or at least playing a national championship game.
Yeah.
And we had Tennessee down 28-7, I think was the score, 20 to 21 to nothing at one point. And they beat us 28-48 with the last, we fumbled. It's called, I love my teammate Clint Sterner to death, but they named that play where he fumbled the ball, the Sternover, because it was fourth and short. And if we'd have got
Yeah.
that first down, we would have won the game. We could have iced the game from there and just run out the clock. But he fumbled, and they went down and scored, and then they won the game, and we're eventually national champs that year.
Yeah, and then Brandon Burlsworth, your teammate, the National Walk-On Player of the Year trophy is named in his honor. So
Yes.
that is that's got to be such a cool thing to get to play with such a legend, because I know he was so loved in the state of Arkansas.
Sure enough, I consider, and again, all honor to God, but the University of Arkansas is a magical place. Frank Broyles actually has the nation's best assistant coach award named after him. I
That's
spent a lot
right.
of
Forgot about
time,
that.
I spent a lot of time work talking just in friendship with Frank Broyles long after I played. He's some of the kindest, most caring people that I've known. And then again, back to picking a school, man, you got to pick a place that's in your heart. It can't be about it really wasn't about the coach. Any one of those coaches could have left, and I would have still been there. Danny Ford
That's
left,
awesome.
and we opened Houston Nutt with open arms. It was a long story involving my relationship with Danny Ford, and being removed from the team, and Houston Nutt bringing me back to the team, and so really a lot of history involved in that. But University of Arkansas is a magical place, and I recommend if anyone has the opportunity to check it out. And I won't speak favors over any other school, because you got to do what's best for you. But I know that the people of Arkansas are tremendous, and they really care about the Razorbacks. A lot
Yep.
like the state in Ole Miss, in Jackson State, Southern Miss, as well. The only difference is that it's kind of fragmented, and it's split in different areas depending upon where you are. You'll find more of one kind, and that's kind of what
Yeah.
sets Arkansas slightly different.
Absolutely. Now, I love this question. This is Deja Weaver. She's a senior, one of our volleyball players here. And she asked, who played the biggest role in motivating you during your sports career? And do you think you could have made it to where you got without them?
For the longest, I would say the fans were,
Wow.
for the first couple years. The fans. I was from Jackson, Mississippi, and man, Deja, you about making tears come in my eyes. I was from Jackson, Mississippi, And for whatever reason, I bought into the hype, or I bought into the thought process that I wasn't valued. Just a regular guy, just a regular kid from this regular town. And when I got to Arkansas, Jay just happening. When I got to Arkansas, I was convinced that I was special. And then they really supported me throughout my career, no matter what I went through, up and down. They were always there, at my dorm, in the mall, just different places, because there's no way, there's no place where they don't know who you are. And so, you'll experience that no matter which college you go to. They're going to all know who you are wherever you go. And so, again, it's got to be for more than just like the coach or the money. So yes, but then when I met Houston Nutt, and he was such a family oriented guy, and he shared his family with us, then he became my biggest mentor, my biggest motivator, and long after life. And if I have anything that occurs, I call him and just check in with him. And if he has a grandson, he had a grandson not long ago, and he sends me pictures. So we're still connected to this day.
That's awesome. I got time for one more. And this is a good question from me as well. But this is Shania Kyles, one of our dancers here at Velma Jackson. And you've got a resume I put against anybody. You have a famous sack of Peyton Manning. You played against Tom Brady.
Mhm.
You played with Clint Sterner. You played in the SEC championship game. You played in the Citrus Bowl. But she asked, of all the things you've accomplished, what is the thing you're most proud of?
Well, I would say being a loving father.
Wow.
Throughout my entire life, I've pursued so many things that were, I call them empty pursuits. And being a family man, focused in on my kids and my wife and the things that I can do to make life better for them are the are the most fulfilling parts of my life. So easy answer to that question. Being a loving, caring, and faithful father is the answer to that question.
That's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us. Just such a great example of another great Madison Central alum, Madison County Schools alum, and a great Mississippian. But before we go, first of all, tell us if they want to get a RV, how to come see you, and second,
Yes,
um,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, go ahead and tell us that.
So 601-292-6623 is the best way to reach me if you're looking for an RV. And yes, that rhymes because that's just how I roll. But you can also go to campingworld.com and check out our inventory there. And, you can give me a call, 601-760-5818. If you're looking for a home, we do mortgage lending with the Bank of England Mortgage there in Ridgeland.
Oh,
I am a licensed mortgage lender and through
okay.
all 50 states. And so anywhere in the world you're looking for a home, give me a call, 601-760-5818.
That's awesome. Now, the last thing before we go, I have almost all seniors in here with me right now that are graduating high school in a little over 2 months. And they're in for the biggest transition they are ever going to face because, in my opinion, the biggest transition somebody makes is from high school to whatever their next step is. So, these obstacles that are going to come, it's not a matter if, it's a matter of when. What can they do to be best prepared to face those obstacles when they come?
I would say trust in what you've been taught. Uh, trust in the Lord. If you have a spiritual connection, then focus in on making that deeper, because there are going to be so many things that occur in life that it just won't make any sense if you don't have God in your heart and let Him lead you. Kindness and love are the most important things that I pursue every day. And if you can be kind and be loving to your neighbors and your friends, and you're going to do well in life. But when it comes to college athletics or just college in general, be focused in on the mission. It's a lot going on. There's going to be a lot of stuff there that you don't need and won't want to be a part of. You got to walk away, say no, and stick to the stuff that you're there to accomplish, because later on, your mind and your body is smart, very, very smart. And so when you're doing things that are not good for yourself, then you're going to end up, you wonder, how did I get depressed? Why do I, your body is smart and it recognizes when you're doing things that are adverse to its health. And so, do good things, stick with good people, focus in on goodness, and you're going to go far.
Absolutely. CJ McLain, Madison Central legend, Arkansas Razorback legend. Now, before we go, give us a Woo Pig Suey.
Woo! Pig suey. That's not the whole thing, but you gotta have to look it up online. So, there's only one Razorback.
All right. That's awesome. CJ McLean, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Greg.
All right. Talk to you soon, buddy.